And it's time for the hot topic of the hour. Jurors in former President Trump's so-called hush money trial will return to court at 9:30 this morning to continue deliberating for a second day after leaving the courthouse with no verdict yesterday afternoon. Now, while deliberating, the jury submitted 2 notes to Judge Merchan. They asked for 5 things. They asked for David Pecker and Michael Cohen's testimonies about a meeting that they had with Trump back in 2015, where they allegedly discussed a conspiracy to get him elected by killing negative stories about him. They also asked to have the jury instructions read back to them. Former President Trump is required to stay inside the courthouse while the jury deliberates. He spoke to reporters in the courthouse hallway during day 1 of deliberations. Watch.
I would say, in listening to the charges from the judge, who's, as you know, very conflicted and corrupt, because of the confliction, very, very corrupt. Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged. The confusion is nobody knows what the crime is, because there's no crime. Nobody knows what the crime is. The DA didn't name the crime. They don't know what the crime is. That's what the problem is. It's a disgrace. This thing ought to be ended immediately. The judge ought to end it and save his reputation.
And the former president is also urging the New York Court of Appeals to expedite its review of his gag order. That order bars him from talking about anyone involved in the case, including witnesses. Joe Pinion, your reaction?
I mean, look, this whole thing seems like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. I mean, you have a president who is not able to talk about the case. You have to remember that the entirety of the people working for the actual campaign are pretty much verboten from actually talking about the case. And then you have anyone from Michael Cohen to the media trying this case in the court of public opinion. So you have to either you're going to prohibit everyone from talking, you're going to sequester the jury, or you're not. And that's not what happened here. And now you hear the jurors themselves seem quite confused, as we are, because apparently you no longer have to actually find a crime to convict somebody of. You just have to put them on trial and let the whole thing run its course.
Really disturbing, especially when you hear the judge with all of these new instructions. Like, for example, they don't have to agree on the second crime.
How is that unanimous then?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly an issue. And to Joe's point about the jurors being confused, supposedly there were 50-plus pages of jury instructions. Why couldn't they take those back in writing? Like, why did they have to listen to Judge Merchan review them again? I don't even know how long it takes to read 50 pages, but it takes a while. It's really, really difficult for people to remember everything.
I was thinking that as well. Yeah. Why is this like a secret?
I don't. It's all a secret. It's crazy. And then to President Trump's point about, you know, they're not having to agree on that second crime. This is like a choose-your-own-adventure criminal proceeding, right? And again, it makes it very difficult for all the jurors to believe unanimously that he is guilty when you can choose your own second crime.
That's a great point. Todd, you've been talking about this all morning. What have you learned?
In response to the jury instruction question, that is New York law. They do not get a copy of it. That is a stupid law that I think needs to be changed. But with regard to the massiveness of a 50-page document, if you will, Trey Gowdy, who actually has done this, been in the courtroom, I think he said it best when he said, when I was a prosecutor, I didn't understand the jury instructions that I was writing. That just shows the complicated nature of this. So for those individuals in the courtroom, 12 people who probably have never done anything like this before, including the 2 lawyers, this just shows how difficult it is going to be for them to wade through the morass of information in what should be a relatively simple case and should be no case at all. And I'll just add one more thing. When I had to write jury instructions, hands down, my least favorite thing to do, because it's a silly exercise. It's all about preserving issues for appeal, but it's a lot of wasted paper, and it is, to Trey Gowdy's point, completely lost on the jury.
I wonder what you all think about the questions that the jury came back with. Our team on Bartiromo Boulevard hit the streets of New York City asking people if they think this verdict in President Trump's so-called hush money trial is going to impact this election in November. Watch this.
There's a lot of people who enjoyed the Trump show, who have enjoyed the ride thus far. It's just been an extension of The Apprentice. But at the point where he gets convicted, that may be the end of the ride for a lot of them.
No. Doesn't seem to be changing anything else, so why would it change that?
So yes, absolutely. I think that office should hold a lot more honor, a lot more respect, a lot more integrity. So I honestly don't think that it's, at least in my opinion, it's good to have a president that's been convicted of a crime to be president.
Do I think it will impact? No. Could it impact? Yes.
I don't think it'll have much of an impact because it's not going to sway the voters either way. I don't think people in the middle, probably half of them will see it as sort of political witch hunt, half will see them as here he goes again. Is it constitutional? I mean, he's a citizen, and they found that they could prosecute him for a crime.
I don't know. Todd, what do you think about that? John Ratcliffe, former DNI, told me he doesn't think a conviction is going to matter anyway. People have made up their mind, but I don't know.
Yeah,
what the people in the street said.
I think the polls are leaning the way John Ratcliffe thinks, if for no other reason than look at your wallet. That's all that matters to people at the end of the day. Yep. How much money do they have? And I don't think that Trump getting convicted is going to matter.
Look, 78,000 people across 3 states with a difference between for President Trump being elected in 2016. I think it will matter to some people. Ultimately, though, I think, again, Alvin Bragg, he's no Atticus Finch, and this is not really going to be what most people are talking about.
All right, let's come back to this. We've got a lot more to add to this.